So with crossing the bridge, what's your, sort of prime intention? What are you hoping that people will glean from reading this book?
My path for the rest of my life is to empower people. This is what everyone should want to become. That right there. That is your salvation. So what is that? A crystal ball? Well, it is, but that's not your salvation. Your salvation is what this represents. Clarity of mind. And because we collectively had no clarity of mind, enter 2020 lockdown. So clarity of mind. My spiritual name is Yanava. Ya is the sound of the heart. Ya, it's the oldest name in the universe. Ya, heart, God, fire, power, passion, will. Na is the mind, hopefully a clear one, and Va is the backbone. Yanava, Yaha, Naha, Vaha. When the Na, the mind, becomes balanced, discernment, reasoning, correct thought, when the Ya, the fire of God that lives in everyone, begins to move through the clear mind, reality or God's will begins to simply manifest on the earth. Everyone should want to become that. In becoming clear, you get everything. You get everything. Things you never thought possibly could exist, things you only thought that you might deserve, so forth. So, homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul, my intention for this work is to lovingly take people from where they are who want to expand and split them open completely to where that very Ya, that very power, that light is actually able to step out. Passion is the fire. It's to put your hands in the car engine to fix it. Roll up your sleeves and get your fingernails dirty kind of thing. I'm going to fix this car. I'm going to fix this car. Sincerity is, I need to fix this car. I need the car. I mean it. Humility is, I'm so grateful to have this car, even if it's not cosmetically pretty. I'm grateful that this car gets me from here to there. And vulnerability is actually sitting in the car when you're done with all the work and hammering on the pedal to open this up to let your spiritual Ferrari out.
Yes.
These four components will turn your life over within itself in a matter of a moment. And it is my mission, my desire, my love to simply help people realize that in the wholeness of these four components is everything a person can need. Look, if I'm the guy next door, if I could bring the absolute of the universe into my conscious experience, anyone can bring anything. So it's not hard. It's to help people recognize that if you want to move across the bridge to your soul, stop trying, stop everything. Everything is so effortlessly laid out. You have to become easy on yourself. Trying too hard, you will overshoot your target. When that which is the truth, God's omnipresence, is not only right under your own nose, it is your own nose.
Yeah.
It's everything. Welcome to Center of Light tonight. It's always good to see you, beautiful, sexy human souls. A couple of things really quick. Welcome to Center of Light, Center of Divine Foldment and Reinforcement. Carolyn, I'm hearing a delay in your, I don't mean your monitor, but You can figure it out, I'm sure. Welcome to Center of Light, everyone. Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strap in all my Broham and Sistar astronauts as we launch for inner space. Homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul. A few nights ago, I did a presentation, 8-8 Lionsgate, Center of Light Roar. And it was suggested that I go into a meditation, move through the Lionsgate in this meditation. I did. I asked for one thing, or I placed an intention only once. It was suggested only once is necessary. And I saw in this dreamscape this book on a table, so I picked it up, and there was pictures in it. And all these pictures were in black and white, meaning the past, of my life story, which this book has no pictures in it whatsoever. And then last night I had this powerful experience going on a mission with two other people, a mission. We were dead set on this mission. And towards the end, I was flying around in the air, having a good time playing in the sky. And there were two lions. And of course, your first thought when you see a lion right next to you is like, whoa, what's that? And as it carried on a little bit, the lion got closer so much so it scratched me, but not out of wanting to scratch me, just in our interaction together. Of course, I was a little apprehensive at first. And then I contacted my sister, Anjana, and all of this stuff relating to Swamji, Divine Man, 8-8 Lionsgate. So I'm going to continue this practice, and I would suggest that we have a couple of more days. You can do this every day. Every day is Lionsgate. Don't buy into the hype. But we have to understand there are millions of conscious power people plugging into the theory that this is the... If you hear my voice drop out, there's some technological issues. So if you see me do this, that means I'm going to wait 5 seconds and continue. So I do suggest that you go into this experience now while the field is fertile. And imagine you're in a gate, the cosmic moon, back into the tube. We come in the tube, it's the same tube. It's a two-way system. And place your intention for your most beautiful life there. See what happens. I want to tell you about my guest tonight, Miss Carol. I got her name all twisted twice. Once when I met her, and once the day before yesterday. Carol Banayos. I got it. Carol Banayos. Let me tell you about my guest tonight. Her links are in these forums. Hello, Robert. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Rena. Hello, Dana. Hello, KK. The links are in these forums. How to find more about my guest. Please go walk all over her page and make a big stink and let her know you exist. Carol says, my name is Carol Banayos. I am an archeologist of the mind, body, and soul, intuitive spiritual business coach, teacher, and mentor. I can uncover your genius and the inner shit that keeps you held hostage. I hold space to allow you to be seen, feel safe. Wow, I love that. Heard, understood, heard, understood. It's all one. It's just many branches of the same beautiful pie. Validated and loved. To date, I have helped thousands of people throughout my career. Currently, I coach, consult, and mentor entrepreneurs to identify and remove blocks that were holding them back in their business and life, and to gain clarity on exactly where they should be focusing their time and energy to start making the progress they want, thanks to my unique breakthrough method, which is a combination of my coaching skills, psychic, clairvoyant gifts, and ability to sense people's energy and pain. I have 2 degrees, Bachelor of Arts with a major in psychology and a minor in business, along with Bachelor of Commerce with double major in human resources and marketing. I am certified in and Practical Neurolinguistics and a certified yoga teacher. I'm also a certified life coach and executive coach, psychic, clairvoyant, entrepreneur, and the founder of Wake the Fuck Up movement and Business Snapshot. I am a #1 best-selling author of Wake the Fuck Up, A Journey from Death to Awakening, and co-author of Success is Just a Decision Away, How to Create Anything You Want in Life, and The Genius in You, Extracting Your Acres of Diamonds, which is coming out soon. Again, as I said, how you can find more about my powerful guest today. Her links are in these forums. Please check them out. Welcome to Center of Light Radio. Yo. Carol Banayos. How you doing, dear?
I'm doing amazing, and I just want to thank you for taking the time for allowing me to be a guest on your show. I know we've kind of interacted in the past, and just has always been such a pleasure and blessing to communicate and vibe with you. So thank you so much.
Well, you did me a good turn, you know. In fact, when Homecoming Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, which is now available on Amazon, everyone, the links in these forums, you can purchase that book there, or you can leave me a review using the same link. You were kind enough to contact me. And you said, Keith, in a very above and beyond beautiful way. It was beautiful that you contacted me. You said, I want to make you the first guest on my platform. And I felt very honored, and it was very genuine and heartfelt of you. So I felt heard. So, and when you said, can I come on your show? I said, absolutely. We'll find a day and we'll do it as soon as possible. So here we are. What is a spiritual archaeologist of the mind, body, and soul? What is it you do in that way?
So, you know, it's funny that how I actually got that name is like one of my closest best friends gave me a testimonial, and he said Carol is like an archaeologist of the mind, so she can uncover things that you do not know about yourself and kind of bring it to the surface. So essentially, when I'm working with people, I realize that I can see them, but I can see through them. So I can see the inner turmoil that they're going through, pinpoint the trauma that they're going through at a particular childhood, the age and the situation, and then all the connections of why they're continuing to experience these kind of challenges and blockages in adulthood. And I also can sense, you know, their emotions, all these limiting thoughts that they have, and things that they may not even be aware of because they've kind of put it so deep down in their subconscious because all of the pain that has caused them. So I'm able to kind of identify all of that, as well as their genius, that they should, the passion and purpose they should be fulfilling in life, but they're just too kind of scared to kind of take that path because they're so used to being confined in what society has told them to do, which is kind of the safe way.
It's amazing that you have the ability to be able to see beyond your eyes, because when you work with people in such a way, when your eyes, when your heart, when you open yourself up to this place that you're speaking about, seeing is a whole new thing. It's not what you have to look and squint to try to be able to pick up. It's something, it could be a feeling. We can call a feeling seeing. We can call hearing seeing. It's a way of taking in information. Did this come to you naturally, or is it something you had to develop throughout your life, this ability to see?
Well, you know, it's funny how this all happened. So I remember I was talking to my spiritual teacher at the time, and I told him, I'm like, I want to become spiritually advanced, you know? And he's like, the only way that you're going to become spiritually advanced is for you to start doing psychic readings. I'm like, what the hell? I don't even know what a psychic reading is. And so I told my business partner about it at the time, and he's like, why don't you read me right now? I'm like, what do you mean read you? I don't even know anything about this. And so I'm sitting in the boardroom, sweating in my chair. And then he's like, okay, just read me. And so I'm like, I said, okay, fine. So I just naturally closed my eyes, and I started to see like this aura, and spirit started to show me like words and certain images, and I had to make sense of it. And he's like, whoa, that's crazy. And so my other friend, who was an energy healer, he came in that room as well to read him. And he's like, whoa, that's exactly it. And then we went out for sushi, and they're like, how many kids does that guy have? And I saw 3 energy bodies. And so we just kept on eating sushi. And I had to confirm. I'm like, hello, sir, I'm practicing my psychic skills. How many kids do you have?
Did you really? Did you really?
Yeah. He's like, I actually don't have any kids. I married and have a stepson or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but how many pets do you have? And he's like, I have 3 Pomeranians. You know, and then after that, we went into a spiritualist church, and they were auctioning off psychic readings, and my friend put my name in there, and people are fighting over it. And so it just naturally happened. So essentially what I believe would happen is that that moment in time, I got activated. Yeah, I got activated. So I think there are already inherent gifts. And I think they're only really able to kind of flourish and grow because I've done all the inner work to kind of release all the baggage and trauma within myself to become a clearer vessel for those messages. And also not judging them, but trusting what they were always relaying to me, no matter how harsh or, you know, scary or, you know, maybe disgusting or, you know what I mean, to be able to expose what they were saying, even though as much embarrassing as it is, because sometimes when I meet with people, it still shocks me how like accurate it is. But then I don't ever be like, okay, that's not it. I just have to always allow myself to be a vessel to communicate that to who I'm working
and
with.
And sometimes it takes you to be wrong to understand that this energy I felt when I was not correct is not the ride. It's not the way to go. So you start to refine your process. There is a huge, in fact, there's a canyon difference between wanting to be right and desiring to be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big cavern between these two possibilities. Today, I was watching looking through the Facebook stream, and there's pretty girl Carol, right? She's doing her 1 minute thing, which on August 6th, you announced that you had the passing of your grandmother. It was lovely. It reminded me exactly of me when my mother passed. I had no grief. There was some tears of the missing that was going to take place, but it wasn't this grief. It wasn't this grief-stricken, oh my God, lightning struck the family. Well, lightning did strike the family in a way, but I didn't see it as something devastating. I saw it as something beautiful, something very powerful, something very beautiful, a gift that I was given, be it my mother or anyone. But I just really love the commonality, the sameness that we shared between losing someone in our life and truly being okay with it from the very beginning.
Yeah. Because I think essentially when you just understand this whole process, the circle of life of, we come into this earth and we leave it, then everything becomes that much more easier. And I think a lot of people are scared of death, but I think when you go down that journey of spiritual awakening, that your time here comes to an end, and that that's just a natural process. So when you have that understanding, no matter how close you are to the person, you know that you're never actually disconnected from them just because they're not in physical form. They're always going to be there. You can connect with their essence whenever you need to. And I think that's why people yearn and maybe have so much grief, because they are more focused on the physical seen world, where the unseen world is so much vast and so much more powerful. And when they tap into that, they can always be connected.
How do you use your abilities to help people move through their shit? Is that what you explained a little bit ago, or is there more to it? What is the practice other than after the seeing takes place? You see things happen. What is the dynamic, the modality you go through to help them move into that other space?
Well, it's it's different every time, but it's different every time because each individual is unique. So even before like someone contacts me and they want to do like a reading, just as soon as I see their name, I already start getting downloads of what that individual is going through, what their blockage is. And I think, it really starts to unfold to see how the challenges are. And so when I meet that individual, I just kind of go right into it. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm sensing. And then they start showing me all these images and words and emotions. And so it's just my job to be able to interpret that in a clear way that they can understand it. And the thing is, I can uncover that, but what people fail to neglect is that there's still work that needs to be done. If you've been operating the same way for, say, 10, 20 years or your whole life, people want an instant quick fix and to be able to get cured, like a pill for every ill. But if you're able to, first, if I can pinpoint that trauma for you and then be able to give you the steps to kind of, get mastery in that area, if you don't do those steps to mastery, then you're still always going to encounter the same issue. You have to have the fortitude and also the determination, persistence to want to change, not being able to get like this, that high that everybody gets going through like a seminar weekend or like, a rah. Wanting to do the work. And I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest gap that people fail to see. Everybody wants instant, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it seems like the world fell into this groove of instant gratification. It happens once in a while. I've always said passion and sincerity, humility and vulnerability is the desktop shortcut icon right there. Yeah. When I went through my awakening many, many years ago. Left 10 years of relationship. I was a emotional mess. After quite a while of that, my mentor suggested a few things, and I just got down to my metaphorical, literal knees, and I said, "Bro, I'm done. I don't want this anymore." I had so much passion, fire. I had so much sincerity. I mean it. I'm very serious about this. I had a lot of humility. I was on my knees, and I made myself vulnerable to something I've never known before in my life. And it happened just like that. 3 weeks later, I was playing music at a casino, came home, went to bed, and there it was. You know, I opened up the cosmic door, the Lion's Gate for real. When did this all kick in for you? I mean, was this something that's been with you since childhood? Because, you know, you always knew there was something more that was always just seemed to be out of reach. Or how did it come in for you? For me, it was pain. Great catalyst.
Yeah, like, I only started like this whole, the psychic and clairvoyant thing. I only became conscious of it in 2017. So I've been kind of just going with it ever since. But I always realized that there was, you know, this ability to get to know someone without even having to get to know them, like just this knowing. And then I know even from high school, you know, entities are wanting to visit me and all this other stuff, but I was too scared to even go down that route because I didn't know what it meant. So I knew there was always something there, but I think the reason why everything is such a, you know, a direct connection and everything comes in so effortlessly is because I've done the work to release all this garbage within me. Because the thing is, if I'm sitting in front of a person and I'm thinking about myself and how I need to think and act, how can I be really present and tune into that person? So I think, you know, to get myself out of the way and to be really present and serve the person in front of me. And I think, you know, I just want to mention something, you know, when I say that there's a pill for every ill and everyone wants instant gratification and transformation doesn't happen that way, or instant transformation anyways. But I think just with anything, instant transformation can become a habit if that's what you've been doing all your life. Always seeking for personal development, always seeking for your spiritual development. Because in the past, yes, it took me so long to kind of improve myself. But since I've been doing it for so long, if I hear something that Keith said, you know, like, whoa, you know, that can transform me because I've already built that muscle of wanting to change and grow.
Yeah, because the machine has been greased.
Right. And so if you're kind of at that starting point of it, you have to build that emotional muscle. You have to build that habit. So it can become automatic, but it's not easy.
Yeah. What holds people back? What do you think is one of the most things that holds people back from moving forward, moving to the greatest, at least a greater possibility?
You know, it's funny. I think it's a combination of not feeling good enough, and then also that the combination of not feeling good enough and also wanting a big dream, that they fear of success and the responsibility that comes with it. And they don't want to be seen. They have big dreams, but they also don't want to be seen. But then also there's an aspect of them that they're good enough because there's so many players in the game. But it's like what they fail to recognize, that each individual has their own unique experience, own unique knowledge and experience that can be packaged in a way to and will attract a different audience. There's always enough for each individual to go out there. And I think a lot of times people don't want to be seen as starting from zero, because so many people are already at an elevated level, but you have to start somewhere, you know? So I think those are the commonalities that I see. And another big thing, there's so many things, because every individual is different. And I think it's always trauma from from childhood, that they have the story of like their a limiting belief, they're not good enough, or they've been told they're you know, stupid, and that becomes the record playing in their mind. So when they want to kind of go and pursue something, it's like they get to a point where they almost reach success, and then they kind of they dwindle down and go into this kind of, you know, this vicious cycle of, you know, succeeding and failure, and they don't ever get past that barrier because they feel that there's this invisible ceiling that that is reached, and they have to spiral back down.
I'm glad you said it, because everything you were talking about before you said the magic word or the key word for me was not feeling good enough. I don't feel, or deserving. I just don't deserve it. And it'll come in many different guises or show up in many different ways. But, you have to want what you want beyond what you think you wanting is. You have to make it your breath. It has to be you, like you said just a little bit earlier, on a subconscious level, to where it's naturally breathing your body for you versus I'm going to take this breath thinking about these things I want or choose for my life and so forth and so on. So when it becomes a default automatic part of who you are, then you begin to naturally just pulse 24 hours a day, even when you're sleeping. This is who I am. The universe begins to conspire and constructs everything into your favor. Why do people suffer, Carol?
It's there's that saying that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So I believe people suffer because they choose it, and I think the reason why suffering happens is there's this expectation. I feel the certain way, and I think that the external environment needs to be shown that way. And if it doesn't show me the way I think it needs to be, then that causes suffering. When we have so much expectations, then you're already putting yourself into a place of disappointment, because you're putting your power into a situation that may or may not happen. So I think that is the biggest reason for suffering. People's expectations are not being met.
People can turn weather into suffering. So it's raining outside. Some people I love the rain. Others just turn it into absolute necessary suffering. Oh my God, it's raining today. Hitting your toe on the furniture, your pinky toe, and breaking it, that's pain. Everything else is optional versus, oh my God, you get on Facebook, I broke my toe, everybody look at it. This is suffering. What are you doing to yourself? Working with many people as you, I see a lot of not necessary self-induced suffering, which brings about more karmic residuals, and they stay in that broken record. So the record can never play the full album of their life. They get stuck in this one song. It makes one revolution. The record of their life makes one revolution, 1 year, and it gets back to the groove. It plays all over again. And it takes work, as you talked about earlier. There's no shortcut in the regard of wanting such instant gratification to move you out of your own self-induced nonsense. You have to do the work. And then once you do the work and begin to integrate all the things that you have captured from doing said work, then you get to coast a little bit. And then you get to coast a little more. Next thing you know, you don't even have to accelerate anymore or brake anymore. You're just simply going down the hill and your car's in neutral. You're in neutral. You're a neutral person. You don't have a right and you don't have a wrong. You're in the center. You're in balance. You're in neutral. And you let the momentum of gravity, if you will, or the momentum of spirit just simply push you along.
Yeah, and I think, just to add into that suffering is that people who suffer, they need to ask themselves, what benefit are they getting from suffering? Because that whole thing, misery loves company. So it's almost like the tension. Oh my God, I'm suffering, but, I'm suffering more. So it becomes a competition. What benefit are you getting? And is that really serving you? And if it's not really serving you, then why do you want to be placed in that victim mode forever when you can actually flip the switch and be a victor of your circumstance rather than a victim?
To support that, I've said many times, I understand when illness happens, conditions happen, you want to post it because you go into this prayer warrior mode. Where are my prayer warriors? This is very, very dangerous ground, very dangerous ground. Because if you have everyone saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry, right? And someone announces they have the big C. Now you have all these people, and you can bet the majority of them are unconscious saying, oh my God, I'm sorry. Now you've added hundreds of people to your scenario to support you in being what you claimed you are, sick. It's very, very dangerous ground. What are your suggestions about asking people to bring in conscious energy and healing for said situation?
So I believe one of the simplest way to kind of get that conscious healing is to be able to have quiet time and empty space for yourself, where you're able to have some self-reflection. So if you have a morning routine and you do some meditation, And then also you're able to self-reflect on your day, because the thing is, you cannot change what you're not aware of. So if you're constantly busy on this like perpetual wheel of numbing yourself, if you don't have time for empty space to kind of self-reflect, it's like, oh, I'm feeling this certain way because what? So if you have a negative thought that comes to your mind, it's continuous, sit for it, with it, investigate it, see where it's coming from. I'm like, okay, is this something from childhood, or is this kind of from the situation? Do I need to talk to this person who made me feel bad? Okay, now I understand it. Then you can actually release it. And when you're able to express what has been repressed, that starts the healing process. But I think a lot of the times people feel a certain way, and they're like, oh no, I got to think positive right away because that's what I've been taught. But then there's so much danger in that, because if you are swiping away all your negative thinking underneath the carpet, guess what? It's going to come back and bite you in the ass 10 times harder. And believe me, it's true, because I've been there.
Absolutely agree. People who say just be positive all the time, as Carol is saying, you are in denial. You're denying yourself the opportunity to go within and pull out the weeds that are in your subconsciousness, causing you nothing but trouble. Consciousness leads you down the road toward absolute infinite bliss. Unconsciousness always brings trouble. And so if you say, well, and I applaud your opportunity and your desire to want to be a conscious being by being positive all the time, that may be a step in the right direction. But when you begin to lean on that like a crutch, and you lean on it really hard, that's same, you're going to find yourself carrying another crutch. And now you got two crutches. So it's very important that you actually look at your dark stuff so you can finally remove it. If not, karma is not done kissing your face.
Yeah, because I see a lot in the industry, and they're in the personal development industry. There's so many people that focus on mindset, but they have like an emptiness in their heart. And there's so many people on the spiritual aspect that, like, they want to live in a cave and don't want to be triggered, but then they can't deal with difficult situations. So you actually have to work on all of it, mind, body, and soul, to be able to have the wherewithal to deal with these situations. You have to be able to investigate it. And yeah, positive thinking, there's a time and place, but only when you're able to deal with the shit that's holding you back.
Can you then move forward? If not, you have too much weight. Well, we can look at this unconscious stuff as weight. It's weighing us down in life. Well, if there's weight, how can you ever expect to gain momentum and move forward? Think about it very easy. Look at an elephant. When an elephant is young, they chain it with a spike to the ground. You ain't going anywhere. And this engram, this belief system in the elephant begins to develop. Basically creates an elephant ego, if you will. When the elephant gets older, they don't use a chain and a spike. They use a stick in the ground with a little rope. If the elephant had any awareness, conscious awareness of himself, he can simply just, move, and it'll not a problem. And so likewise, we all have been carved or grooved into a particular psychological model. Would you say so?
Yes. And it's that indoctrination, it's conformity, it's all our self-limiting beliefs. But it's almost like, you said something earlier when you were talking about your book, Homecoming. It's the ability to empower yourself. And I think you're on that's your life purpose. That's also something that's very close and dear to me, is to be able to empower people to want something better for themselves, enough that it makes them act towards becoming that individual they always dreamed of. And the only way to become the individual that you dream of, you take steps in that direction, no matter how hard and difficult or painful it is. You know what I mean? This momentary suffering or pain is worth the gain of having freedom over yourself. There's always that battle between the higher self and the self that wants to remain the same. And if you want to excel and break through, you have to go through it in order to break through it.
Have you noticed lots of people, they don't want to let go of disease and illness because it gets them the attention they've been wanting. They've been wanting attention all of their life. Now they got it, but it comes at a deadly price.
Yeah, and it's so funny you mentioned that. I remember talking to my spiritual teacher. A lot of people, if it's part of their soul agreement versus their soul contract. So if it's part of their soul agreement and they have cancer, they have the ability to heal it. But a lot of the times people don't want to get healed because they can't forgive, or this disease is part of their identity. Like you said, they want to have that felt sorry for in that victim mode because there's something benefit that they're getting. But the benefit that they're getting with attention is that attention is going to lead them towards their death rather than their cure. So it's such a very touchy thing, but people need to become aware that what they think and who they are and who they surround themselves with is crucial for the success of yourself and your life.
I think a lot of people are not interested in change. One, it does require work. But I think the real kicker is they know that who they are is going to have to die. And nobody wants to die. You can't bring the old you into your new paradigm. In fact, they're just two completely different things, two completely different vibrations, universes, and worlds. And everything, most people, they don't have a fear of death. They'll tell you they do, but that's not really what it is. It's a fear of losing the identity. I had a God experience many years ago, and there was a party going on. They were throwing down in there. They were dancing like in the second movie, The Matrix, when they're in the cave, primally dancing. They said, come on in, Keith. And I knew that part of me on that bed, gazillions light years down there, was not going to be the same person anymore. And I said, I'll come back later.
And I think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, darling. No, go ahead, darling.
No, because I think that is key, what you're saying. It's that constant cycle of death and rebirth. You know what I mean? In order to be rebirthed into like that new you, or the phoenix rises from the ashes, you have to let go of that old belief and old behavior that you had. And then, a lot of people talking about bouncing back, and like, whoever wants to bounce back to the person or situation they were before they encountered the experience. The goal is to be able to transcend. So when you have that experience in your life again, you react differently, but their situation or experience remains the same. And I think that that's a constant ability to let go of past issues and trauma. And it's not easy work, but at the end, it's so rewarding. You won't even recognize the person you are today. Because I can't, when I look back at who I was before, I'm like in a panic, anxiety, like feel like I'm going to die in fear. And it's funny because I laugh at it because it is hilarious, but it's a good reference point to realize how far you can come as an individual. And if it's your goal to want to transcend your old ways of being and also operate at that level of unconditional love.
What can people do to empower themselves?
The way that people can empower themselves is to focus on self-mastery. So make sure they study themselves, what they want, and then also to be able to have the courage enough to kind of look into their inner being and do the deep work. So a lot of the times, people are looking at external people to solve their issues. And sure, there's nothing wrong with mentorships and coaches, but essentially you have to take it upon yourself to look within yourself and be honest at the areas that need work. And when you realize like, oh, you know what, I'm kind of like negative and I'm lacking in that area, then you know what, I'm open enough and I'm finally ready to do the work. I don't know how I'm going to get through it, but I think just the desire and dedication to do it, you'll be on the right path. And you have to really be radically honest. A lot of people want to, pussyfoot around things, and it's like, you know what, honestly, I feel like I can be a shitty person sometimes because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay, I'm going to own up to it. I no longer want to be a shitty person with X, Y, Z. I want to be someone who acts with kindness, respect, have value and integrity and all this character. That's how I want to guide my life. So now these are the action steps I need to take, and either I can do it on myself or I need to get a mentor or coach to help me along the way.
Fantastic. I would like to support what you said. You have to want it. You have to want it. How do you create that correct disposition of getting that very thing that you're wanting? I don't mean a thing. I mean, your life is a thing, whatever. Just being this new person. How do you do that? You have to be willing to do the very thing you don't want to do. If you have to eat dog shit to move as an intention stater to get into this new groove, this is what you have to do. When I was waking up, my friend said, Keith, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to eat dog shit? And I said, I am. That means you are ready. You are willing to do what it takes. There's nothing that can confront me that's going to stop me from my walk towards infinity. Would you say?
Yes. Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because there's this amazing quote by Jim Rohn. He says, "An ounce of doing is worth the pound of regret." So no matter how tumultuous or scary it is to kind of work on yourself, and people are like, oh my god, I'm so scared what I'm going to find if I start to look deep down inside. But it's almost like it is scary to begin with, but I think when you start doing it as a practice, this whole thing is a practice. It's a whole like practice. So when you have the practice of being able to have the courage to look within and start doing the deep work, it becomes easier and easier. So a lot of things won't phase you. And so I don't really believe in motivation. Actually, I believe in determination and also having the right character, because it doesn't matter. Like if you have the right character and you build and cultivate that, nothing can be able to stop you when you're pursuing your purpose and passion. Even there's days that I'm like, oh, I'm done. I quit. I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I'm done. I quit. But I can't quit if I want to, because I already cultivated that muscle that I have to pursue what it is, whatever I'm going to do, whatever path it leads me on, because I can't quit.
Once a person ventures towards their future, which is truly now, because you have to be here now to ever possibly have a future. Stop dwelling on the past, reflect on your past, find out how it has served you, find yourself in the present, and now the future becomes wide open. Is you have to be able to look at yourself in such a way that you're so honest with yourself that you need to see your own foolishnesses and how it has not served you. That'll create a shift. But once you begin to shift, and you get a glimmer of a something, a person, an idea, an intuitive hit, just like that, there is no going back. You can't go back. Even if you tried, you can't go back, because you can't undo the glimpse of your soul that you can't undo the glimpse of your soul that you have been given. You just can't do it. And so you see yourself as this expanded being, multidimensional being. Why would anyone ever want to go back to 3 dimensions or 2 dimensions or 1 dimension of thinking? It's just not possible.
Yeah, and it's funny because although there's people want a pill for every ill, like I did take that pill from the Matrix, and I woke up and I went down that black hole to kind of investigate it and explore and be open to all these possibilities, because I think that the biggest thing too is a lot of people want certainty. And the only thing that's certain is uncertainty. Like, why would you want everything to be predictable? Nothing can be predictable. If you want to control things, yes, but then you limit the expansiveness and the expression and the magical things that can actually come to you when you are living in uncertainty. I think life is meant to be fun, and you're meant to have an adventure, and not to take yourself so seriously, and other people as well.
All right, so I'm devil's advocate. Someone says, "Oh, I hear you, Miss Carol and Mr. Keith. Yeah, I get the idea that I need to understand that the only thing that never changes is change itself, and all these wonderful models. I get that. How do they do that practically? They're in this place and they're wanting, but now the world is swirling all around them. How do they go about finding some sense of balance and allowing certain things that are going to move around and be okay with that? How would you suggest that?"
Well, it's there's not one simple answer to that, but I think the best thing to do is when people know themselves. When people know themselves and they can listen to their inner voice more than that external noise, then they can be able to trust and choose what is for them and what is not for them. Because a lot of times people, again, always look externally for people to give them the answers, to show them who they are. But you'll only know who you are if you make yourself a study. No one else can do that for you. You have to take the time and dedication to be like, okay, this is what Carol likes. This is This is not what Carol likes. This is what Carol's good at. Then maybe this is not what Carol's good at. But it's through the process of doing that you actually know what is for you and what is not. You can't just think a thing and be like, oh, bippity boppity boo, I've got it. No, you have to actually get into the practice and actually do and take action. And then allow yourself to make mistakes. I make plenty of mistakes. I do stupid things, but then I know it's all in part and parcel to get me to where I need to go. I'm not so safe and so cautious about certain things. I just allow what I'm experiencing to be adventure. And if I make a mistake and do whatever along the way, then so be it.
I've always said the way to gain control is to lose control. You gain control through losing control. If we can look at this analogy, let's say a person's been living their life this way the whole time. It's a wheel that spins in your head or your chest, depending on where you are. But there's a wheel that spins this way, and it's about being in control, making things happen from this point of view and that point of view, doing these things out here, out here, out here. And this wheel, and when you're really good at being in control, when you're control freak, that wheel is going. It's really, really kicking. But when you start realizing spiritual truths, which is you when you look in the mirror, you're the spiritual truth, and you start to understand some of these models Carol and myself and other teachers lay out, this wheel begins to slow down. Here's the strange part. When it stops, that's when it starts to feel real funky. There's no movement. It feels like you're falling, like the rug's being pulled out from under you. Stay the course. Stay there. What happens is, from this, the wheel begins to do this. This is when Carol and I were talking about, you begin the integration process to where there's no more effort, because now there's another momentum behind you, within you, taking care of things for you. So yeah, I do understand that for those who are trying to better themselves and expand themselves and create a greater degree of bliss in their life, there's really nothing you happen to do, because when you find yourself in that stillness, I know it feels funky. Perfect analogy would be walking to a situation that makes you afraid. If you're afraid, it's scary. But after you're there for 30 seconds, it's like, this ain't quite so bad. I'm not dead yet. Wow, all this time I've been pissing in a I just been pissing in a fan and wasting my time. So that's the analogy. When you try to better yourself and change that part of you that's going to die, it's going to feel still for a while. And so trust it. And then the wheel will begin moving in your favor.
Yeah. And I also wanted to mention is that, you know, since conception, in your mother's womb, you have been listening to things that are external to you. And then you go to kindergarten, you know, learn all these different things. Your first word is mama, dada, you know, then you learn the alphabet, and then you go to high school, and you go to university, and you learn skills for a job. When in that whole period have you taken the time to learn about yourself? And I think that is why there's so much suffering in this world, and people feel that emptiness because they've been living for other people rather than themselves. So there's no, anybody can start learning about themselves today. It's just like I said earlier, to have the fortitude and persistence and determination to know yourself. And when you're able to know yourself, then you can you can determine what your purpose is, what your passion is, what direction you want to go. You yourself, not what other people are wanting for you. And it's a practice on its own, but you have to realize all this stuff that you've been indoctrinated in since conception, and then you haven't, you know, learned about yourself in all that period of time. No wonder why you feel empty. No wonder why you feel lost. But you can start anytime, but you just have to make yourself a priority.
Yeah, there's been a complete removal of indoctrination, dogma, past life stuff that carries over into this life, that you picked the perfect parents to help reflect and teach you the same beautiful stuff, but also the nonsense. It's the same spinning around the sun forever until one chooses. And when one chooses to delete, omit, and cancel the nonsense, of course you're going to feel empty. But in the emptiness is the infinite potential for anything you choose. You get a brand new start.
Yeah, and you just have to be patient with yourself, just like with anything. You learn a new skill, you're learning yourself, you're learning what you like and dislike, and just be patient with yourself. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be so worth it. There's going to be that light at the end of the tunnel. You'll reach the promised land. You'll go to your homecoming. And when you go through all this stuff and you start to release all these things, then you're going to start to remember the magnificent and being that you are. You've just been so with all these veils and layers upon layers that you thought that were you. But once all those layers are removed, you're like, whoa, you know, it's an amazing adventure to begin to know who you really are. You're going to surprise yourself.
A lot of people think this new world the return of any spiritual deity and all this nonsense the world is in right now. They think it's about this world out here changing. Yes, this is a sounding board. I've always said, at least, the new world is not out here. The new world is not about seeing. It's about freeing and being inside. The kingdom of God is within. Neither should they say, lo, here or there. The kingdom of God is within. So if we use this phrase of scripture, this new way, this new world, if you focused out here and you're concerned with the movement of the play of nonsense, you will find yourself in suffering. Because, well, Keith, what can get worse than what it is right now? Oh, the universe is very intelligent. It can dream up a monster for you to help you balance yourself, which is grace in and of itself. Most people don't realize that lessons are God's grace. It's God's true way of saying, I love you, because the places that Spirit is illuminated in our life, we don't need to find God. It's already there. It's there in the form of joy. It's where we have no joy in our life. God is simply not being recognized. So what are your thoughts about how can some people, anyone, and all of us, begin to navigate through this world?
It's just, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's this amazing quote by Leo Tolstoy. He says that every man thinks of changing the world, but no man thinks of changing himself. So that's where it starts. It's that inner mastery that you need to look within and be able to make yourself the stronger voice instead of that external noise. So no matter how tumultuous your external environment is, you can have a storm going around you. But then since you created that strong foundation, your building, your emotional foundation and your building will waver. It will get blown in the wind, but it'll still be strong structure because you've laid the foundation to make yourself a priority and master yourself. So, all the stuff can happen, but that the only thing that you have control of is like what you perceive and your thought about a certain situation, not the external world feeding you what you need to think and feel. And I think that's the key.
Take an inventory, reflect back. Carol, at whatever age, and Carol now. Take an inventory, reflect back at whatever age before this walk of yours, and then Carol now. How does it feel to be you when you wake up in the morning? What is your feeling base? Overall, I mean, like you have a bad mood one day. That's not what I mean. How does it feel to be you now, ongoingly? In this new way of being that you know you to be?
I honestly feel so very grateful and blessed, because I'll just kind of say what my definition of success is. My definition of success has changed once I awoken, is to be able to be a master of my mind rather than a slave of it. And then, when certain things happen, I'm so aware of these negative aspects that I cannot be blind, or I cannot go with it. I'm just so like, okay, that's a thought that doesn't serve you, let's release it. So I'm so happy for the awareness that I have to be able to navigate my own thoughts that come and know that I'm not my thoughts, or I'm not this body. I'm so more vast than that, and that I can be able to manipulate and manifest the thought and life that I want based on who I am. Because the thing is, everyone talks about law of attraction, but it's only you become, when you're a vibrational match to what you seek, then it'll come whatever you're vibrating at. So I'm just happy and blessed for the awareness that I have and the ability to constantly grow and become that better version that I am each and every day.
How does it feel to be joyful, more just at peace? Yeah, right. But I loved everything you said. That was delicious.
No, it's so funny, because it's a sense of joy that it can't really be explained, and it's almost like, when you said that, like I was getting there, but it's almost like a sense of joy that it's almost brings me to tears because of how far that I've came. Like I was, when you're in that state of when you're wanting to even think back of like wanting to commit suicide and all these vicious thoughts and all these other things, being close to death, and now coming to a place where you can just let go and accept and just be. It's a very powerful place to be, and I'm so very grateful and joyful. And I can't really explain that feeling that I have, but it's just it's a beautiful, blissful feeling, joyful.
Have you ever looked back at any of your work and just lost your cookies? I do it often. I always go back to my work. I always watch what I do, learn what I do. I learn by watching my behaviors. It's a teaching tool for me because when I go into this mode, I'm sure like many of you, possibly you as well, Carol, the Keith that I am in everyday open-eyed life, I'm not really here. I'm here. I'm present. I see everything around me and I'm with you. But a part of me goes away for a little while. So I come back to watch what's happening. And sometimes I'll watch a piece of work of mine and it'll bring me to an absolute tears. And it's because for me, the reason it does that, the reason I shift, people will say, Keith, that's just weird. You're just a media whore. But that's not it for me. Truly, it isn't. It's because it takes me back to who I was when. And it shows me by contrast to who I am and who I am now. And it shows me the flowering that took place in my life as to why I feel those things that you described. Grateful, appreciative, allowing, joyful, blissful, caring, compassionate, empathetic, all these wonderful qualities. Have you ever had a moment such as?
Yes, I've actually had several of them because, when I think about when you're able to like stand in your power, there's a lot of things that I don't care about anymore, to tell you the truth. So if I look back, like say maybe 3 years ago, I would never be caught dead on camera with no makeup. So now, like, even now when I'm doing like my 1 minute videos here and there, I just don't care. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, I'm so comfortable with myself and showing people the true me, like naked, not like physically or whatever, but just naked and in my authenticity, that I don't really like care or give a fuck, you know what I mean, what people think about me, because my intentions are pure. I'm not, trying to coerce anyone. I'm just really trying to share my love, kindness, and compassion and what I've been through in my experience, and the hope that it can shift and transform someone's life, because I do believe in that 2 millimeter shift that it can set you into the path that you never thought possible because of a certain concept or quote. So yeah, I see that all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But I just don't care anymore, to be honest. Yeah. That's
a tough one for a lot of people, is to be so vulnerable that you don't care what people think. And I care what people think about certain things, and it has its compartment and its department and its place in my life. But when it comes down to the bare bones of it, I really just don't give a shit. I just don't. It doesn't mean I don't give a shit. I don't care about the nonsense of what people think about me or think about other things, this, that, and the other. What I really care is about people. And I love seeing people ecstatic, happy, joyful, blissful people. And you, like me, like many millions of people, have come to the earth this time around to ensure that happens in the world. And this is the moment. This is that grace. We talked about God's grace flowing through what looks like negativity. Because God is already in your life in the place you have joy. So God comes in and says, here's a monster. Deal with the monster, face your demons. And so doing that, millions of people are now coming through their own funk, that they are able to grab other people's hands as they ascend and lift other people up. And I think we're doing the work / play. It's also important to play as it is to work. Carol, we are at the top of the show, the bottom of the show. Would you give us whatever you want to lay on me and the audience about how we can fall into the spirit of Carol Banayos and what she has to offer us?
Well, now that you mention it, I think everything starts with self-mastery. And that's why I created this monthly membership program. So you'll find the links down below. It's carolbanayos.club/self-mastery. There's a dash between self-mastery. And I think, there's foundational principles there that can be applied in every area of your life. But I think you cannot build your structure as high if your foundation is not there. So you can't build, if you're thinking about building, a structure on a concrete foundation, then it's going to be firm, it's going to be strong. But if you're thinking of building a foundation on a straw foundation, then it's going to be wobbly and it's going to break over. So when you're thinking about self-mastering yourself, there's principles to that. And that's why I teach that, because I think it will be the amazing journey towards mastering yourself personally and spiritually. So yeah.
Everyone, I have her links, all of them, in these forums. What's coming down the pike for you, dear? What's your future look like as far as your spiritual work? Any new books? Anything? What?
You know, to be honest, I just have the sense of just wanting to empower people. I think it's just like that. It's just wanting people to be able to take charge of their own life, because I don't want people, there's so many like coaches and stuff out there that want people to be dependent on them. You know what I mean? I want to be able to teach people the tools to empower and self-master themselves, so they can go and conquer what it is that they need, and continue to provide value and teach them certain things that they need. Then sure, come see me. But if you want to go to another level, then go check out another person. But I want to give people that foundation so they can self-master themselves. And when you can do that, you can self-master all areas of your life.
Yeah, don't think I want to hang out with you as much as you think I do. Thank you for joining me in Center of Light Radio. You're welcome back here anytime, sweetie.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome, everyone. Carol Banayos, she said something pretty powerful I want to lean back into, which is, I don't remember actually. One thing I've said many times in my teachings is I want to be that teacher, not for any accolades, but for my own self-gratification, accomplishment, which is that I can do a presentation or a talk and deliver something so clear and articulately that you never have any desire to ever see me again. That is the mission of my work. I want to be so fulfilled with spirit that I can empower you, as Carol was talking about earlier, simply giving you a gift, a seed, and you go take care of water, blossom, and nurture that seed and let it grow. Because as long as you begin to lean on people, nothing is happening except you are entertaining yourself. Entertain this. When you look in the mirror, you will see the greatest thing that ever has been, is now, or ever can be created. And when you begin to live and believe and integrate that, those things Carol and I have been speaking about all night will be yours. Peace, love, and have a whole bunch of fun with yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. And treat others with love, kindness, compassion. Much love and peace out.
Yeah.